Hello, teachers. Hope you enjoyed our group presentations. We are Group 5. Today we will present Chapter 16 Alternative Evaluations and Selections. For the table of content, we have totally 5 learning objectives. And now, moving to learning objective number 1, we will discuss how actual consumer choice often differs from rational choice theory. Assumption 1 said that consumers seek one optimal solution to a problem and choose on that basis. Give an example. Customers need a new smartphone. They will align with the assumption and believe there is one optimal solution to the problem, and this is their identified smartphone. They choose it over others and considering it is the best solution based on their needs and their research, and they confidently purchase the chosen smartphone, reflecting the assumptions that consumers seek and select a single optimal solution for their needs. And for the assumption number 2, consumers have the skill and motivation to find the optimal solution. Like when a customer want to buy the refrigerators or the air conditioner, they will actively research the product and considering many manufacturers like energy efficiency, brand reputation, something like that. The policies, they can visit store to read the reviews and evaluate the options of the products, or they showcasing both the skill and motivation to find the best fit for their needs. And the last assumption number 3, the optimal solution doesn't change as a function of situational factors such as time pressure, task definitions, or competitive contest. For example, consumers want to prepare for a dinner party with the friends and they have a specific recipe. Despite time pressure and competition in the store, something like that, they stay focused on the list and they still obtain the exact ingredient they need. And they successfully follow the receipt, demonstrating that the optimal solution remains unchanged despite situational factors.
So next to learning object 2, consumer choice and types of choice process. So for Tech from Consumer reports in 2019, empowering consumers through informed choices. So there are research that 81% of consumers research online before making a purchase decision. Three types of consumer choice vary, and 2 and 3 of consumers make impulse purchases. So for consumer choice in Vietnam, 70% of consumers prefer local brands over foreign ones. 3 out of 5 Vietnamese consumers research products online before making a purchase, and there are over 2 million online shoppers in Vietnam, with an estimated 30% growth rate annually. So consumer choice and types of choice process. So first, some types of consumer choice is habitual buying, limited decision making, extensive decision making, more time and effort, and high involvement. Next is the factor influencing consumer choice. For examples like price, quality, reputation, personal values. So how to market different types of choices to understand the decision making process. Consumer choice and decision making steps. So first is recognition of need. The consumers realize a problem of need they have to address. Secondly, for the information search, the consumer collects information on viable solutions to the problem. And thirdly, purchase and post purchase evaluation. The consumer buys the product and determines if it fulfills the need as expected. Fourthly, evaluation of alternatives. The consumer assesses the pros and cons of different solutions.
Okay, so let's move to the next part is learning objective 3. explain evaluative criteria and their measurement. Okay, so now we will define the evaluated criteria. So there are various dimensions, features, or benefits a consumers look for in response to a specific problem. Okay, so while functional attributes are common, evaluative criteria can also be emotions and the reactions of important reference group members. So, for example, before purchasing a computer, you might be concerned with cost, speed, memory, operating system, display, and warranty. And next one is evaluative criteria are perceived and utilized by consumers in a number of ways, including extreme limits or range. So, a consumer who buys a barbecue grill for the first time and has limited experience with grills may have to determine if he prefers gas to charcoal, dome, or traditional shape, and so forth. Okay, next is the nature of evaluate criteria. It is more often more persuasive for marketers to communicate brand benefits rather than, or in addition to evaluative criteria because it is the benefits that consumers specially desire. The ads focus primarily on products benefits rather than technical features. So look at the example for number one. Show how two similar products different from type of evaluate criteria. So, and the second is the blue whiteness and Purina ads are of the same product category but are some different evaluative process by consumers. The Purina ads on the right focus more on the intangible attributes and feeling. And the first is consumers are generally interested in product features only in relation to the benefits those features provide. So it emphasizes the core benefit and rather than the technical characteristic that generates those benefits. Okay, so the last one, measurement of evaluated criteria. So before a marketing managers or a public policies decisions maker can develop a sales strategies to affect the consumer's decisions, he or she must determine which evaluated criteria are used by the consumer, how the consumer perceives the various alternatives on each criterion, the relative importance of each criterion. Therefore, it is often difficult to determine which criteria consumers are using in a particular brand choice decisions. This is even more of a problem when trying to determine when they attach to each evaluative criterion. So, first one, determinations of which evaluative criteria are used to determine which criteria are used by consumer in a specific product decisions. The marketing researcher can use either direct or indirect method of measurements. Next is determinations of consumers' judgment of brand performance on specific evaluative criteria. So it's a variety of methods are available for measuring the consumer judgment of brand performance on specific attributes. Last one is determinations of the relative importance of evaluative criteria. So the importance assigned to evaluative can be measured either by direct or indirect methods. No matter which technique is used, the usage situation should be specified because attribute importance often change with the situations.
Let's move on to learning objective 4. Understanding consumer behavior involves acknowledging the challenge consumer face in judging various product attributes. While straightforward criteria like price are often within craft, more complex evaluation like quality and durability pose difficulties. Let's take another example to highlight pricing complexity. Imagine choosing between a 500 milliliter shampoo bottle priced at $5 and a 750 milliliter bottle at $8. To simplify this decision, consumer group emphasize unit pricing, revealing the cost per milliliter, recognizing the complexity and legal measures like the federal rule in lending law have been enacted. These regulations aim to facilitate direct comparisons, particularly in financial transactions. The inability to accurately evaluate products raise concern, consumers might make inappropriate purchases, buying lower quality items at higher price. Regulatory bodies, consumer groups, and high-value brand marketers are actively addressing this challenge. We'll delve into the role that surrogate indicators play in shaping perception. Let's start with example. Price, for instance, is often viewed as a signal of quality. In the world of consumer choices, a higher price tag is often associated with superior quality. But it's not just price. Other indicators like advertising intensity, guarantees, brand reputation and country of origin can also serve as signal, influencing consumer perception. Now, let's explore why these surrogate indicators hold sway. First, consider consumer appetite. These indicators are more potent when consumers lack in-depth knowledge about product. Additionally, they play a more significant role when consumer motivation is low or when they are dead of other quality related information. However, it's crucial to acknowledge the limitation. The link between surrogate indicators and actual product quality can be modest at best. Relying on these indicators without a clear understanding can lead to supporting more decisions. So, what can marketers do? Firstly, use convincing message, especially when promoting feature that consumer might perceive as mutual exclusive. It's all about managing those perceptions. Equally important is understanding consumer beliefs. Dive deep into what consumer associated with your product attributes, as deep understanding is key to crafting effective marketing strategies.
Next part, I want to talk about the relative importance and influence of evaluative criteria. They have three main points. First part is the usage situation of a good or service can be significantly influenced its important criteria, such as promptness of service and location, depending on the specific occasion. Next one is the competitive context of a brand can influence its influence on decision making as the degree of variation in a criterion among rival brands can be affect its importance. And last one is advertising can be influenced the perceived significant and power of evaluative criteria through strategies like contrast, prominence, and imagery, shaping perceptions during decision-making process. And next one is the evaluative criteria, individual judgment, and marketing strategy. Marketers must understand consumer relative standards, identify significant attributes, and create products that excel in those domains while effectively conveying product superiority through all marketing communications. Marketers must understand consumer interpretation of product quality criteria, as blind tests might not consider brand image and reputation, which significantly affects purchase decision. Marketers can use surrogate indicators, warranties, and brand names to counter negative perceptions, such as Hyundai 10-year quality premium wines and established brands to enhance consumer trust. Marketers must understand consumer opinions on evaluative criteria importance, identify key differentiation points, and use advertising themes to highlight brand strengths and usage situation to influence decision making. Successful marketing strategies involve understanding evaluative criteria, individual judgments, and surrogate indicators. Marketers must strategically use surrogate indicators and identify differentiation points to position their brand effectively.
Now, let's move on to conjunctive decision rule. The conjunctive decision rule is a non-compensatory approach where consumers choose a combination of product attributes that must meet a minimum score or performance standard. For example, A consumer looking for a smart TV may seek the combined product attribute of a large screen size and good picture quality and great sound quality. In this example, usage through product with a deliberate to indicate that the consumer is seeking all three of the product attributes to meet or exceed their expectation. Next, I will talk about disjunctive decision rule. The disjunctive decision rule is a non-compensatory approach to decision making for consumer. For example, if the consumer was looking to buy a smart TV, then they may want to only consider the product offering that have a very large screen or have amazing picture quality. In this case, the consumer has selected two independent product attributes and is willing to purchase or consider any product that is rated for a single and very important to them product attribute. And the last one, I will talk about elimination by expect decision rule. The elimination by expect decision rule requires the consumer to rank the evaluative criteria in terms of their importance and to establish a cursor point for each reader. They compare the level of importance to the number of points each company gets in order to select the most appropriate level and remove it from criteria set. For example, here we have two types of hotel, B and D, which meet all the criteria to be chosen.
So moving to the lexicographic decision rule, it requires the consumer to rank the criteria in order of importance, and the consumer then select their brand that performs best on the most important attribute. So, for example, if two brands such as Popeyes and KFC tie on this attribute, they evaluate it on the second most important attribute, such as price, taste, and promotion. So this continues through the attributes until one brand outperforms the others. So, about compensatory decision rule, it refers to the decision-making strategy where individuals evaluate and compare alternatives based on multiple attributes or criteria, and taking into account both positive and negative aspects of each alternative. So, it is important to have a performance level at or near the competitions on the more important features because they receive more weight in the decision than do all the attributes. So for compensatory decision, the total mix of relevant attributes must be considered to superior to those of competition. So I will summarize the decision rules. So most people use decision rule when buying, and low involvement purchases generally involve relatively simple decision rules because customers will attempt to minimize the mental cost of such decisions. So high involvement decisions and purchases involving considerable perceived risks tend to increase the evaluation efforts and often may involve not only more complex rules. And now we will move to another chapter, chapter 18, post purchase processes, customer satisfactions, and customer commitment. To understand about the post-purchase consumer behavior, we have figure 18.1 shows the relationships among the various processes, which are the focus of this chapter. It also indicates that immediately following a purchase and often prior to usage, consumer may feel doubt or anxiety known as post-purchase dissonance. A concept very similar to post-purchase dissonance is consumption guilt. Consumption guilt occurs when negative emotion or guilt feelings are aroused by the use of a product or a services. When consumer experiences guilt due to the environmental concerns, like they will recognizing the ecological impact of fast fashion, so they will like respond by educating themselves about the sustainable fashions and evaluating their wardrobe for more eco-friendly choices and becoming an advocate for conscious consumerism on social media. This is the end and also the last video of group preparation chapter. We want to say thank you to teachers for always support in hearing our group video.